Hello everybody, I'm Aaron Valentino, and I'm here to give you two very important messages. The first one is Laker Connections is better than sports talk. The second one is your daily reminder that Francisco Lindor is a New York Met. The Oswego Plague has made its full return, and after making its way through our Laker Connections crew, we are back and healthier than ever for tonight's show. Once again, I'm Aaron Valentino.
And I'm Brian Rudman, who's Aaron is trying to tempt to leave the show. But Aaron, we've been doing this show for so long. Now, there's not much point in changing things up, so we'll start the way we always do with This Week in Laker Sports. We'll talk about everything from the past 7 days, the highs, the lows, the yays, the nays, the woohoos, and the boos. And I can't believe I just said woohoo on television, so let's just get it started with some baseball.
I like to think that over the last 4 years, I've had a big impact on this group with the wacky things. All right, let's get it started with some baseball as the Lakers travel to Oneonta this week for a 3-game set against the Dragons. The Lakers won the first 2 games, no problem at all, winning 8-0 and 7-1. But Saturday, they became victorious once again, but it took them 10 innings, doing so in an 8-6 win. The Lakers are now 19-6 and 9-0 in the SUNYAC. Brian, another successful week for the Oswego State baseball team.
Yeah, it really was. You know, we saw them stay undefeated in SUNYAC play. They moved to 9-0 in the conference, and in 2 different fashions, right? On day 1, it was all about pitching. 8-0 in a one-hitter effort from 3 different pitchers. Game 2, 7-1, Kieran Finnegan went 7 innings once again, as we've seen him do a couple times now in conference play. Day 2 was actually the more important game for me as we take a look at the stats from the weekend. Overall, Oswego, very dominant. However, like I said, day 2, right, that 8-6 win in extra innings. Comeback kids, Tyshawn Featherstone, who won Athlete of the Week, 3-run homer to take the lead in the 10th inning. Down 5-2 in the 8th and a big comeback, and it's really good. From my perspective, it's good to see because it shows that this team can handle some adversity, and that's not something that they faced in the conference yet. They got tough opponents coming up, so showing that they can fight back when they're behind late in the game, that's pretty important.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. It really shows for Coach Landers that his team is able to handle adversity. And you know why that's good? It's because Brockport and Cortland are coming to town over the next 2 weekends, folks. Those are the 2 biggest sets for the Lakers all year. It was Paul Tamero and Ryan Enos. Ryan Enos, by the way, folks, he's like the best Division III college baseball player in the country. It's absolutely unbelievable. But yes, a very solid weekend for the Oswego State Lakers. They're able to get it done. They're able to move to 9-0 in the conference, which is exactly what you want heading into a big weekend against Brockport and Cortland. It's the same guys getting it done week in and week out.
Yeah, they position themselves well moving forward. This is right where you want to be when you start looking at Brockport and Cortland coming up next. And they showed us that they got a little fight in them, which we hadn't seen yet because they didn't need it in SUNYAC play. All right, moving on. It was a very good week for the Oswego State softball team as well. 1 doubleheader and 1 sweep over the Potsdam Bears. Game 1, a 13-3 win, and Game 2, 9-4 victory. It was a 7-run second inning in Game 1 that led the way in the win, while in Game 2, it was Fiona Higgins leading the charge, pitching 7 innings, a complete game, striking out 14. Aaron, Lakers took care of business last week in games they needed to win. What was the case?
Fiona Higgins has been getting it done on the mound all year. She got it done with her bat this weekend as well. 4 hits for her, a couple of RBIs, but this is exactly what this Oswego State softball team needed, right? 2 big wins against a conference opponent. Nothing boosts a team's confidence quite like a conference victory. Nothing boosts a team's confidence like a baseball team or a softball team sweeping a doubleheader, and that's exactly what they did this week. They got to keep it going, though. They have a couple of big games coming up. They're still in it. They're still in the SUNYAC softball playoff race. They've got a lot more matchups coming up this week. There you see Tay Smith this week, 3 runs, 4 hits, 5 RBIs, and those 5 RBIs came in the first game against Potsdam. So a very good weekend for Gabriella Rivers and company, her squad. They get it done this weekend with the sweep over Potsdam.
Yeah, and something big that I think we saw in that sweep was that, Aaron, both of you and I have been talking about how we need to see some more depth from this team, right? We need to see pitching beyond Fiona Higgins. We need to see hitting beyond Zoe Menig, and that's what we got. Smith, a great day, 5 RBIs, 4 hits, and crossed the plate a couple times as well. So we're starting to see this Lakers lineup start to get a little deeper. It becomes a little tougher for opponents. But listen, ultimately, these are games that you had to win. This is a winless Potsdam game. Potsdam team, you can't let them come to town and not get away with a sweep. So these are games they needed to win. It puts them right back in position to make a playoff push coming into the year. Good week for the Lakers.
2 successful weekends on the diamond. All right, to the turf now, as this past weekend, the Oswego State men's lacrosse team traveled to Geneseo to take on the Knights. The Lakers took their third loss of the year to Jenny and their first in conference play. Liam Sexton scored a goal with 1:20 left on the clock to put the Lakers within one, but unfortunately for the Lakers and the Oswego State faithful, they were not able to tie the game. Brian, a first big conference loss for this Oswego State squad, and their schedule just gets tougher from here.
Yeah, it really does. But, looking at this game, and it was the first meeting with former coach Drew Beasley,
Yes.
right, who coached this team for many years. He took them to the playoffs a couple times. So this was interesting to see, this team going up against their former coach. A tough 11-10 loss. But I think it showed that this Oswego State team that went winless in the conference and just didn't look like they could compete in the SUNYAC last year, that they can go toe-to-toe with anyone. You take a look, shots on goal, Geneseo just up by 5, but Oswego was much better in the man up, and that's exactly what they need to do in these situations when they're playing the top dogs in Geneseo, in Cortland, and in Brockport, who we'll talk about later in the show because they got them up coming up, Cortland coming up this week. You got to take advantage when you're a man up. They did that this week. Unfortunately, not able to complete the late comeback, but it showed that they can go toe-to-toe with anyone in the conference.
Yeah, and I think that it shows that this team has just taken some serious strides this year, right? After not winning a game all of last year, they went 0-7. It was a little bit of a weird schedule with the COVID year, but they're able to come in. They already have 8 wins this year. They're 8-3 on the season, and their schedule gets pretty tough coming up. They've got Cortland, who they've never beaten before, and we are going to talk about that when we come back from break. Look at that, folks. I'm good at my job. But don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we'll take a look into the future in the week ahead. Don't change that channel. You're watching Laker Connections on WTOP 10.
Go. Only on WTOP.
DeCarlo on the rebound! Alex DeCarlo! Yeah, it's been a wild game so far. A lot of high scoring, so definitely tighten it up and play out that full 60 minutes.
Welcome back to the best show on WTOP 10 out on our own Oswego.
Did you hear that Bad Bunny's going to be in Canada over spring break,
I heard that one.
Drink a cognac. The week.
Roll it.
The Kinda Late Show with Chloe and Anna. Like licorice, Twizzlers, absolutely nasty.
The thought of turkey is just nauseating.
I think you're wrong, is what I think.
You think I'm wrong a lot of time.
I do think you're wrong a lot.
Welcome back to Laker Connections, the only current running show on WTOP 10 that is one in Aussie. It is now time for the week ahead. Brian and I will take a look at what is ahead for Oswego State athletics this week. Brian, to the turf.
All right, sounds good. Taking a look at Sela Wiley and company. They'll have 2 SUNYAC road games this week, taking on the Potsdam Bears on Saturday before a midweek clash against the Brockport Golden Eagles next Wednesday. The Oswego State women's lacrosse team currently holds the final playoff spot in the SUNYAC with a 3-3 record, but only hold it by 1 game. Aaron, 2 big games this week. What's it going to take?
You know what's so funny? You wrote Sela Wiley and company there.
You were going to start.
I wrote it's 2 big games for Sela Wiley and company.
Okay.
But this Potsdam game, this is a game that they can win. Potsdam is 6-7 on the year. They're 1-5 in the conference. The Lakers have had a lot of success against them in the past, and I expect them to continue to have success. They've only lost to Potsdam 3 times in their history. Brockport's going to be a little bit of a tougher test for them. They haven't beaten them since 2016. Brockport's 7-5, which is, the Oswego State women's
pushing towards the top of the conference.
Yeah, the Oswego State women's lacrosse team is 4-9 on the year, but Oswego's 3-3 in the conference.
Right.
Brockport's 4-2. So it's a game I think they can win. And Brockport's scoring a lot. They're scoring 14 goals a game, which is second in the conference at the moment. So you're going to have to keep the scoring down. You're going to have to try and really get Sela Wiley in there and scoring a lot of goals, which she is very good at doing. And they can win both of these games to be able to get to the playoffs.
I think you start with Potsdam on Saturday, and that's just a must-win because it's a team that's towards the bottom of the conference. It's a game you're expected to win, and it's a game that you really should win. So I think that becomes a must-win just because you need that win, right? You need it to stay on pace to be 500 where you want to be to make the playoffs. And then you look at Brockport. This is a team that they really struggled with last year. In their 2 games, outscored 42-17. Castiglione, they're going to look to her to help out and earn some assists. But you're right, Sela Wiley, she's got to get going. The one thing is, they've played a couple tough opponents in the SUNYAC, like Geneseo, and they struggled with them.
And their record, they also played a lot of tough out-of-conference opponents. All right, this week, the Oswego State men's lacrosse team, they will take on a pair of dragons in Oneonta and Cortland. Oswego has not lost to Oneonta since 2015, as they will travel there on Saturday. And then on Wednesday, when Cortland comes to town, the Lakers, they will try and make history as they have never beaten their Central New York rivals. Brian, the Lakers, they got to slay some dragons this week.
Yeah, they got to go dragon hunting here, We love putting slaying the dragons on the lower third. We've been doing it for years.
4 years.
For the 4 years that we've been here. And we never fail. We never miss an opportunity.
It's in there every time.
Every single time. But looking at this team, right? Only one Oswego State Laker has played against Oneonta, and it's Weston Gray. He had 3 goals and 1 assist against him. But looking at the game that's going to be at home next week, right here on WTOP 10 next Wednesday, it's against Cortland. And guess what? Never beaten Cortland. 0-38 all time. And you can see the highlights from last year's game against Cortland. It was a rough one. They hung with them early, but Cortland just blew them out at the end. It's going to be a whole team effort, right? Yeah. You're going to need Kenyon to play huge in net. He's going to have to make some big saves. Everybody's going to have to score, and everybody's going to have to contribute. You got to play at the top of your game to beat the top team in the conference.
It's very similar to the Oswego State women's hockey team and Plattsburgh, right? Now, they've beaten them one time. This is the game they want. This is the game they have circled on their calendar every single year. They want to be the team that makes history. They want to be the team that finally takes this Cortland dynasty down. And they are going to be ready. They're going to come in focused. Sean Eccles and company, they're going to come in with a game plan, and they're going to have to play a perfect game on Wednesday.
You're absolutely right. It'll be a good one to watch. Moving to the Diamond now. The Oswego State baseball team will look to stay undefeated in conference against their toughest SUNYAC test yet this weekend when they host the Brockport Golden Eagles for a 3-game set. Brockport comes in at 23-4 on the year, 7-2 in SUNYAC play. Aaron, what's it going to take for this Lakers team to remain unbeaten in conference play?
That's a really good question. I think they're just going to have to keep doing what they're doing, right? They're going to have to keep hitting.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They're 9-0 in the conference. I mean, there's not much more you can say than that. And they've beaten a lot of top 25 teams this season. You look at this SUNYAC showdown here. Oswego 17-12 against Brockport all-time. Oswego 6-4 in their last 10, and they have won the last 2. This is where the fun really begins, right? You've played a couple conference matchups. You've gotten your 9 wins. Now, the top 3 teams in the SUNYAC right now are Oswego, Cortland, and Brockport. The fun really begins when these 2 teams are coming to town. It starts with Brockport this week.
Yeah, you say that. You remind me of Star Wars and Anakin saying, this is
where the fun
begins, folks. Listen, this is going to be interesting. You got the 2 co-player of the years from last year facing off this weekend, right? Between Brockport and Oswego. Oswego's Ryan Enos and Brockport's Tom Kretzler going at it this weekend. It should be good. Lots of hitting, lots of pitching. This is going to be a really exciting series to watch. All right, speaking of that series, we're going to take a quick break, but don't change the channel. When we come back, I'll be joined by Kieran Finnegan of the Oswego State baseball team to talk about their stellar season. You're not going to want to miss it. It's Laker Connections on WTOP 10.
Kinda late, kinda late, kinda late, the Kinda Late Show with Chloe and Anna. Like licorice, Twizzlers, absolutely nasty.
The thought of turkey is just nauseating.
I think
can't.
you're wrong, is what I think.
You think I'm wrong a lot of times.
I do think you're wrong a lot.
Look at that, it's so sad.
Here's our weather outlets. And we're so sorry. It's Saturday.
And that's optional.
Welcome back to Laker Connections on WTOP 10. I'm now joined at the desk by ace of the Oswego State baseball team, Kieran Finnegan. Kieran, thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
No problem. Great to be here.
All right. Well, you and the team, you guys have gotten off to a great start in SUNYAC, playing 9-0. What do you credit to that success?
Just us playing well, just doing what we have to do. Our pitching's been, I'd say, really well. A lot better than last year, even go as far as say. Hitting's been doing good, and we're just all around just playing our game. We're not being beaten by ourselves most of the time, especially in SUNYAC. But besides that, just playing baseball and winning.
Now, you guys do have your two toughest conference opponents yet, right, with Brockport and Cortland coming up the next couple weekends. What can you take from those early games that you found success in? What can you take from those moving into those two tough contests?
Just, we got to play our game. We got to be excited. We got to be loud. Can't just go in thinking, oh, this is going to be a win, or it's just going to happen. We just got to make it happen. We got to play, got to pitch. Just got to be in there, win each pitch, each inning, each at bat, and then I feel like we should have no problem.
Now, one opponent who you guys are pretty familiar with is Cortland, right? You guys have faced them a lot in the SUNYAC championship, and you lost in that 3-game set last year. Does that loss, in the way that last year ended in the NCAA tournament, does that add any drive for this group?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you look at our team, a bunch of guys were supposed to graduate last year and came back for another year using this another year of eligibility that we got back for COVID. Just because last year we just felt like we had the team, we felt we could go far, and then just didn't end how we wanted to. And now everyone came back, and we feel like we have the team to go even farther now, even better with our class.
Now, what do you think makes this team different from last year that'll allow you guys to go a little further?
Well, last year I felt, our lineup was insane, so good offensively, but we really struggled pitching. I mean, you had me, Van, and Terrell, and everybody, but they were really young. A lot of our entire pitching staff, we had like 6 or 7 sophomores, or freshmen at the time, who are now sophomores. We finally got the experience that they needed, playing even more now and doing really well. A lot of them are excelling, and I just feel our pitching staff is more well-rounded, and we have basically the same offense. So, I mean, we're just all around a better team because of that.
Now, you mentioned the pitching's improved. You're the leader of that pitching staff, right? You're the guy that you turn to in the big game. You've been so reliable. What's your mindset when you take the field and you take the mound?
I just get it there, and I just think no one's better than me. No one's going to beat me. Just got to do what I got to do and hit my spots, locate my pitches, make sure I'm figuring out where the zone is, what pitch isn't working, and just go from there, trust Lando and calling and everything, and just be good to go.
Now, when you're on the mound, do you like to call your own pitches? Do the coaches call pitches?
I love Lander. Lander just calls the pitching. Knows so much more than me when it comes to pitch calling that I just trust whatever he does, and I just go with it. I don't like to think at all. Really, I just like to just be like a robot and just go.
Well, you see those numbers on the screen. They're pretty darn good.
Yeah.
I'll say so. Now, you mentioned that this team is mostly returners. Does that add to the vibe in the dugout? How does it feel to play with this team?
Oh, it's so much fun. I mean, most of us have been playing for about 4 years now, and it's so much. It's something. We just go in, we just have fun, we just do what we do what we're here to do, and we play. And then we help the younger kids get up and get better.
Now, speaking of those returners, one of them is Ryan Enos, who's top 5 in the country in about every statistical category you can have at the plate. How much fun is it to watch him play?
It's insane. I feel like every time he gets up, it's either going to be a double, a home run, or a hit. Like, we feel like he just doesn't get out, especially in big spots. Like, I feel like he comes through for us whenever we need it.
Now, Coach Landers has slotted you as the game 2 starter for doubleheaders, it seems, right, in SUNYAC play, those 7-inning games, and you've gone all 7 innings in your 3 appearances. Do you like the strategy, and how do you think it helps the team?
I feel like it helps the team a lot. I mean, those 7-inning games, I mean, anything can happen in baseball in general, but it's just so much harder in those 7-inning games. It's 2 innings shorter. You get off to a bad start, like what happened to us in the past couple weeks. I mean, we got off to a bad start against Rochester twice and St. John Fisher, and then it just seemed like we could never come back. It's just that much harder in a 7-inning game. So being able to have him have the trust in me to go in that 7-inning game and try and go all 7 feels really good.
Now, final question. On game day, you're pitching. Any superstitions?
Not really. An energy drink. Oh, okay. This year it's 1 energy drink beforehand and then 1 in every 3 innings.
Every 3 innings.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's just a new thing this year.
Must be really, really hot up
yeah.
on
I'm shaking
caffeine.
out there.
All right, Kieran, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck this weekend. We'll take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, Laker Showdown. Keep it right here.
Athletics. Aaron, there were 6 big points. This is the one you've been waiting for. This group has never beaten Cortland.
Getting started with some men's soccer as the Lakers had 2 conference matchups.
For half of the Lakers' goals this entire season.
Offense is key. You talked all about scoring goals.
Good evening and welcome to WTOP 10 Nightly News.
For the governor race with a strong lead, former Governor Andrew Cuomo is...
Barlow announced the completion of a large building mural in downtown Oswego.
The renovations on the Hewitt Union building, turning it into the new Hewitt Hall.
And as we move into tomorrow, that rain is going to be in our area.
Moving to Diamond now, as Sweet Caroline got a lot sweeter last night.
Life's taught me a lot, and I'm ready for more.
Well, you're not the typical kind of candidate that I hire. But you are exactly what I'm looking for.
Your company could be missing out on the candidates it needs most. Learn how to find a great pool of untapped talent at gradsoflife.org.
We've been marinating chicken in all sorts of liquids for 24 hours. These are vitamins and minerals and things that you need, nutrients. The chicken speedy is a staple of our culture.
What's up? I'm Jake Johnson, finally back on your TV screens. We're back and better than ever for your favorite segment and show this side of the Mississippi. It's time for a Lakers Showdown. I'm going to ask Brian and Aaron 3 hard-hitting questions about some Lakers sports. Each person will have about 45 seconds to debate, then I will choose the winner of each round. After 3 rounds, we'll see who has the most points. Are you guys ready?
Let's do it.
Born ready.
Alrighty, the Oswego State Lakers men's baseball team is currently 9-0 in SUNYAC play. They have 9 games left in the SUNYAC, but 6 of them against the top 2 teams in the conference, Brockport and Cortland. They also end the year with 3 games against Fredonia. They were able to sweep the weekend against Oneonta, outscoring them 23-7. My question to you guys is, what will this Lakers record be after these 6 games against Brockport and Cortland? Aaron, I'll let you start.
I am going to go with 4-2. These are the 2 best teams in the SUNY. Sorry, I thought somebody walked. I looked up and I thought somebody walked across
way to stay focused,
the
kid.
camera. Yeah, way to stay focused, right? These are the 2 best teams in the SUNYAC outside of Oswego. You cannot go into either of these series expecting a sweep. It's really hard to sweep. Any baseball manager will tell you. You want to take 2 out of 3. You want to take 2 out of 3. You want to take 2 out of 3. And that's exactly what I expect them to do in both these series. Brockport's really good. Brockport, they were able to get a game against Cortland, but they lost the other 2 games. They lost by a lot, 15-2 and 23. I think 23-3.
23-2.
23-2.
Wild.
Yes. Cortland is also the 6th best team in the country. You cannot go into that one expecting a sweep.
All right. First off, way to stay focused. Second of all, any coach who's not saying let's win every game. I don't know what we're doing here, folks.
I mean, come on.
What are we doing? What are we doing here, folks? Listen, Two top teams in the SUNYAC. They played each other, and you mentioned it, and that was actually showed great potential for this Oswego State Lakers team, right? Because Oswego and Cortland are probably pushing. They're the top 2 teams in the conference, right? Cortland blew out Brockport. They were clearly better. I think if Oswego stays focused, they can sweep, and they can actually dominate this weekend the way that they have been, especially if they get the pitching from Ant Van Fossen and Kieran Finnegan that they've been getting. The other was a letdown. Cortland's going to be a tough game, and that team desperately wants it. And I'm sorry, you're not going to find a better hitter in the SUNYAC than Ryan Enos. I think
but you're
he's
not
going to
find
but this is the year of destiny, and this Laker team is going to get it done against Cortland. And I think you're both wrong. 6-0, they're going to end up.
So who wins the point?
Winning all of them.
I was
Brian for
5-1.
being closer.
Yes.
So we're going to move on to the Oswego State men's lacrosse team. They have 3 games remaining on their schedule before the SUNYAC playoffs start. They're tasked with SUNY Oneonta, Brockport, and Cortland. The Lakers' 3 leading goal scorers have combined for 74 goals. Gavin Elson has 30, Weston Gray 25, and Ryan Eccles 19. My question to you guys is, will these 3 stars for this Laker team combine for 100 goals in their last 3 games of the season, only needing 26 more? Brian, you start.
All right, time to break out the math. You know it's my favorite thing to do, Jake.
Love math. Love
3
math.
players, 26 points needed, 3 games left. You know what that means? I did the math. I did some calculations, broke out the cell phone
Good
calculator.
thing you did, because we know me and Aaron weren't.
Yeah, that's true. Each player needs to average 2.8 goals per game. Think they can do that?
That's a hat trick.
I certainly
That's tough.
do. These guys are really
That's
good.
tough.
They're 3 leading scorers. And they got a game against Oneonta, a team who they really should dominate. Look at how good these guys have been. Weston Gray's an animal. He gets the ball in his stick and he's shooting 46%. He's just phenomenal.
Yeah,
these guys are really good. I think they're going to
I'm going to go with no, and the reason that is they have a pretty tough schedule coming up this week. They're going to face Cortland on Wednesday. They're not scoring a lot of goals against Cortland, I can tell you that right now. Cortland is only letting in 7 goals a game.
Scored 9
this
against them
entire
last year.
season. Again, this is a Cortland team that is in a year where they're looking to continue this dynasty. They're also going to play Brockport, who is one of the top teams in the SUNYAC. I'm going to go with no. And plus, 2.8 goals per game, that's pretty much a hat trick. You're going to need each of them to get a hat trick.
Yeah, but they've shown that they can do it.
Yeah, they showed they can do it, but again, you're facing the 2 of the tougher teams.
I'm going to get in here and
SUNYAC.
break this up a little bit. I'm actually going to go with Aaron. I think that this team is going to struggle a little bit against these top teams, but that doesn't mean they can't come out with the W. Now, to the final question for you guys. Both the Oswego State women's lacrosse and softball teams are looking to push into the playoffs. The women's lax team is currently 6th place in the SUNYAC, 1 game ahead of the Plattsburgh Cardinals. Then you look at the Oswego State softball team. They're currently in 7th place, just 1 game behind Plattsburgh. My question for you guys is, which team has a better chance to squeak into the playoffs in their respective sports? Will it be women's lax or will it be softball? Aaron, you start.
I'm going to go with Sela Wiley and company. They've got 3 games left, so it's less of, the Oswego State softball team, they have got to play a bunch of more games and a bunch more doubleheaders as well. Those 3 games are Potsdam, Plattsburgh, and Brockport. Potsdam, that's a game that they can win. They've won a bunch of times. Potsdam's 1-5 this year in the SUNYAC. They play Brockport, who's pretty good. Brockport 4-2 right now in the SUNYAC. Oswego State 3-3. It's going to be a tougher test, but I think they have the talent to be able to win that game. And Plattsburgh, another team that is struggling. The teams ahead of them are New Paltz and
I'm going to jump
Oneonta.
in here.
And
It's
I think
tough. Both
Oswego
teams have
State
tough schedules the
has
remainder of the year, especially with that Brockport game for the women's lacrosse game. Ultimately, though, I'm going with the softball team because it's going to come down to Oswego and Plattsburgh, and they both play a lot of those tough opponents. You see, Oswego softball does have 22-18, and to your point about the amount of games left, that means that there's more room for error, right?
Yeah,
if that
but they play a
Oswego
lot of those top
lacrosse
teams
team,
on the SUNYAC.
if they fail in 1 game, and also the other thing, right? Sela Wiley, she hasn't been scoring at the same clip that we're used to seeing her score at, and that's an issue.
Yeah, but you're
Meanwhile,
gonna
we're seeing
play
Fiona
Potsdam
Higgins
and
and Zoe Menig. Really
all
hit well.
right. You know what? You know
I'm
what's nice about being the host here?
Yeah.
We're gonna make some Laker Connection history. Both of you guys are losing because both teams are going to make the SUNYAC playoffs. So it's a tie. Little
Great.
Laker Connections history.
That's great.
So Aaron can't
Great,
be
you know what
as
they say.
sad.
You know what they say about
Okay.
ties.
All right. All right, Jake, you got something quick to say?
Yeah, Kyle Spizak, you attacked me on Sports Talk the other day saying something about
We got
being,
30 seconds.
shooting it over my head. And I'm 6'2". I think you're like 5'7", 5'8". I just don't know how
You're
you
6'2".
think that's going to
You're
work
6'2",
out for
really?
you. So Kyle
All
Spizak,
right.
I'll see you Tuesday on the court. Good luck.
All right, that's all the time we have for Aaron, Jake, our crew in the back. I'm Brian Rudman. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week on Laker Connections, folks.